Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Geeked Out. My name is Kyle.
Juan here.
And so a couple episodes ago, we did Bad Boys 2. And after that, both Juan and myself we wanted to watch a little bit more Martin Lawrence. So this week, we decided to watch Blue Streak.
Yeah.
This movie was originally released on September 17th of 1999, which I'm sure a lot of you know was a phenomenal year for movies. Um, I'd like to get into watching some more from this year, as we've discussed.
Yeah,
But
99. Insane.
it
I
was
didn't,
nuts.
I didn't realize. I think I knew that, but I didn't at some point, but I had forgotten that came out in 99. But that doesn't surprise me, man. So many hits came out during that year that it's regarded, if you're a cinephile, like if you really know your movies, that's one of the what they consider one of the best years of all time when it comes to movies being released.
Yeah, it was the that year was just chock full of hits. Just I don't know what it was about that year. Just they all kind of came out at once, and it seemed like everything was going to succeed.
Absolutely. Some movies that like define the genre for a while, certain genres. Uh and yeah, definitely. One to specific. I don't have the whole list, but one specifically. But yeah.
What one are
Came
you referring to?
Matrix, right? That came out in 99.
Yep, I was thinking something completely different actually, because my brain always tends to go to like comedies and that, and
I'm thinking Matrix because once that came out, I think
everything changed.
especially action movie wise, everybody had to have some type of scene that mimicked the Matrix within probably that 2-3 year span of the
Yeah, everyone
first.
was trying to do the bullet time and the slow motion, and
Just the even like the fight choreography and the wire work. There was a
yeah.
lot of that.
No, the one I was gonna say was it was kind of like the rebirth of the raunchy comedy was American Pie.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
people complain or talk badly about that movie, but I mean, let's face it, if that movie didn't happen, I don't know if we would have had a lot of the comedies we watched in the early aughts, like all those Judd Apatow movies and um, um, Todd, I forget his name. He directed Old School, things like that.
like
Um, but yeah, I don't think we would have had those types of movies had it not been for American Pie bringing back that raunchy teen type comedy.
yeah, it was definitely pioneer.
I think we're gonna have to end up doing some kind of a series or a series of episodes about that year and some of the movies that came out that year.
I'm down for that for sure. We're gonna start with I got one. I got one
Oh,
movie start.
I'm sure we can. I'm sure we'll be able to come up with quite a few. But for now, we'll get into Blue Streak.
All right.
Quick summary of this movie: it's about Martin Lawrence plays a jewel thief who has to pose as a cop. After being released from prison, he learns that the building that he hid a stolen diamond in has been turned into a police station.
Dun dun dun.
This movie was directed by Les Mayfield, and it stars Martin Lawrence, Luke Wilson, Peter Green, Dave Chappelle, and William Forsythe. It has a 6.3 out of 10 rating on IMDb, and this one's bad, but it currently sits at a 36% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes with a 64% audience rating. Its budget was an estimated 65 million, and worldwide it took in 117,750,000 dollars. So they pretty much almost double their budget, which I think they would consider that a success. I did read that there had originally been a sequel plan that was in the works, and I think it just got scrapped. I don't know why. It just
Well, I know Martin Lawrence. He in the past maybe 20 years, he's been dealing with some health issues. So I wouldn't doubt that's probably one of the reasons.
oh, I had no idea.
Oh yeah. He had a stroke at some point in the last few years.
Martin Lawrence had a stroke?
Mm-hmm.
That's news to me.
I don't know if it could have been like, I don't know how severe it was. Could have been a minor one, but
Well,
it
I mean,
definitely
a
has
stroke,
impact.
a stroke is in your brain. I know doctors say minor and major, but I think anything involving your brain is pretty major.
Oh yeah, it has affected his speech in a little bit. Like he's a little bit slower when he talks, and I think that is the reason why. And he's been dealing with issues dating back to even the 90s, not stroke related, but I know it was health related.
Well, I'm going to guess that, like you say, that stroke would have happened quite a while after this movie because he is
Oh,
certainly not slow in this movie.
oh no, no,
He
no,
is
no.
firing
Like
on all cylinders.
in the early 2000s, he had some hits, man. To me personally, I think most of them are underrated. Unless he's dressing up in a fat person suit, then
I
I'm
hate that
trying to
movie.
see that. I'm not trying to see that. But he had some hits that are definitely, I think, should be talked about more. And this is I think this is number one. I think this is out of all of them, I think this is his best work.
Yeah, for
That's,
me, if somebody brings up Martin Lawrence, the first thing I think of is obviously the Bad Boys movies, but
is a starring role where he has to carry it. I think this is
this
number
is number one for sure.
for sure.
I mean, yeah, he like Black Knight was good. National Security, all those movies are good, but for some reason they just never really compared to this one, in my opinion.
No. And like his performance in a movie you haven't seen, but he plays the second guy, like he's the code, like there's like a buddy thing going on in this movie called Nothing to Lose. I think that's his best performance. Um, but this definitely Blue Streak is his best movie in a starring role for sure.
Well, I mean, nothing to lose that he's co-starring with Tim Robbins.
Yeah, they play off each other very well. I think better than the what was it?
Luke Wilson in this movie,
Exactly Luke Wilson. Every time
not
I say
not
Luke,
Owen.
wants to come out. Owen wants to come out whenever I think of Luke. But yeah. But not saying that this their chemistry, Martin and Luke, was bad. I just think in another movie it's a little bit better.
No, I thought they were pretty good together. I've always liked Luke Wilson. I never thought he
He's
was I never thought he was fantastic or anything like that, but I've always enjoyed when he's on screen.
both. I think this counts for both of the Owen brothers. Whenever I see him on screen, I just see the Owens, whichever one's on screen. Like I could never
Like they're
believe
the same person.
not the same person, but like themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
it's the way that Sam Jackson plays himself and Denzel and Clooney and all those guys now. It's like they're just playing themselves in a movie. Well,
yeah, it's
that's not true. George Clooney is Danny Ocean in every movie.
I would even say that he's his character, and I loved him in Out of Sight. You ever watch that movie?
No.
That's like the prototype of his Ocean's character, because that movie is they're basically the same character. That movie's pretty good.
No, I've actually never seen that one. Interesting.
Yeah, it's actually a really good movie.
I will say, so the beginning of this movie, the first note that I have written down is the opening credits of this movie just feel super 90s to me.
Super 90s, super like
It's that blue tinge, and it's like footage from almost like a traffic helicopter that you would see on the news.
cops or something. Yeah. But
And it's
like
got that blue tinge over it. It's really, really dated.
dated and like very basic when it comes to the whole heist.
Yeah, I will say a lot of this movie seems very basic.
Oh yeah, the plot is incredibly basic, but that's not. They know that, and that's not what this movie is about. Honestly, it's about Martin Lawrence carrying this with his comedy, with some really decent action wedged in between there.
Yeah, I have that at the end. I don't really remember there being as much action in this movie as there was.
No, it's kind of sprinkled throughout the beginning and the middle, but the big action is towards the end.
And it when we'll get there when we get there, but I will
Yeah,
say right off the bat, it looks good.
it is. It's solid because there's no CGI in sight. It's all practical, and you could tell like the people who put these stunts together, they cared and they put the
Yeah,
money into it to make it look good.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this whole opening heist scene, like you say, it's very everybody's got their little jobs. He's the Martin Lawrence is the safe cracker, and the guy who plays Deacon, Peter Green, he's also I believe he, if I'm correct, I have to look this up. I believe he's the villain in The Mask.
Oh, that's how I know him. I was like, this is the villain from The Mask. That's
Okay,
how
that's what I thought.
that's why I knew he was gonna be the betrayer because god damn it, you are the bad guy in The Mask. Like when I see you as a bad guy no matter what you do.
But I mean,
I
they
knew
don't even hide it.
I knew you were gonna do so. No, they didn't hide it. But he just when I see him, I think that's probably because of The Mask. It just looked like he gonna do some backstabbing. It seems like he's only in it for himself no matter what. And I think yeah, they cast the perfect guy because that yeah, that's but they
He just
I
has a look about him,
he does have a look.
like a
And
slime ball scumbag look.
and that's probably why they didn't even hide it because it's like why do this? We all know that this guy looks like a
Well,
villain, all right? Let's just get this over with.
well, and the whole thing is, Martin Lawrence and the other guy with him, Eddie, is the character's name. They go down this the elevator shaft and they go to the floor they're supposed to go to, and I don't even know, like watching the movie, I don't even know what this partner of his is there for, because they get down there and Martin Lawrence opens the door, which why does every heist movie have these magical card readers with a ribbon on it that's attached to a digital readout screen that you put it in and it just cycles through the numbers till you get the password? Every
Because
fucking heist movie has one of these things, and they all look the exact same.
I blame T2 because the T2.
Easy money.
T2, man. That was the first time I seen anything like that. And considering to me it's the probably the greatest action movie of all time, I could see why a lot of movies would just rip that off.
I get it, but it's like it's almost like they're all the same thing, and they just pass them from movie to movie. It's like, all right, who wants this? Who wants it next?
It's one of those tropes that kind of for some reason gets passed along in every movie just because it's in other movies. So why not? Hey, let's do it in ours.
Yeah, but I mean, even there. So again, I can't figure out what this Eddie partner of his does, because they go down. Martin Lawrence uses the key card to open the door. They get in, have to hide from the security guard real quick. And then the next scene is the two of them are sitting in front of the safe, and he explains to Eddie that he has to drill the safe, and Eddie goes, "All right, cool, I'll see you up top," and he leaves. I'm like, what
Yeah,
was the point of him going down there with him?
I have no idea.
And of course, that's the turn. The Within like 5 minutes, 7 minutes of the movie, that's the turn. Because as soon as he comes up, Deacon just points the gun at him and kills him. And it's the minute I saw that, I was like, well, that's a mistake. Why wouldn't you wait for both of them to come up and just kill them real quick together, take the diamond, and you're gone?
Because we wouldn't have a movie, damn it, right?
I know, and the reason because movie. I
A
get
little
it, but
flimsy. Writing's a little flimsy there, and it's again, that's
dude, the
not the
writing's flimsy
highlight.
through a lot of this movie.
It's not the highlight of this movie. It's an action comedy, and I think when you get an action comedy, yeah, the writing isn't going to be the greatest. There's going to be a lot of things that are like, hey, plot holes. But it just depends on if you can roll with it or not, and if it's really impacting the movie or not. And to me, it really didn't. I kind of just went with it.
Yeah, the writing through the whole movie is pretty mediocre.
Oh yeah, really flimsy.
It's almost like they just wanted to fill the page of a script and then just write little anecdotes of like Martin improvs here, Martin yells insult here, you know what I mean? Like just they were
You,
trying to have fillers around him.
I mean, this movie came out in 1999, but for some reason, the script feels like it was written by AI.
Yeah, a little bit. And I tell you, if this is the type of shit that AI would put out if they started using it, please don't. Because the writing is not the strength of this movie. The Martin Lawrence ad libs is the strength of this movie, 1,000%.
Yep, it's turning the camera on, putting it on Martin, and letting him do his thing, which he absolutely knocks it out of the park in this movie.
Yeah, he's really good. Um, yeah, he ends up getting arrested and taken to prison, and we have a quick cut to 2 years later, which I guess that seems realistic. I don't know what the punishments are for. I don't think it would have been armed robbery. It would have just been robbery or breaking and entering with I don't know. But you don't even get to see what the charges are. I don't think. Um,
No.
but I like when he's getting out and one of the first gags is he gets his shoes, but he only gets one shoelace.
Yeah, and he's cussing out the guy.
Which, I mean, I get it. You're just getting out of prison, but that's balls calling out a prison guard while you're still on the property.
Oh, of course, absolutely. But hey, I mean, they they did it in this movie, and I appreciated it. I mean, in real life, no, I don't think anybody would cuss a person out like that in that way.
No, they might ask a question and be like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I guess I just did have the one. Have a good day."
You're technically still inside the prison, right?
Yeah, he's still inside. He's still inside the gates, inside the whole thing.
Reserve your shit talking to when you're out, which he continues to do even when he's outside too.
He does the whole. He shit talks a busload of new inmates coming in.
And the look on their faces is so funny because they're so angry.
Yeah, but they can't do anything about it.
They're so pissed.
But I love that right after this scene, we get the introduction for about 12 seconds of the greatest actor in this movie.
Oh, Octavia Spencer.
And dude, I remembered this. If there was nothing else I remembered about this movie, it was the line when she opens the door and he's like, "What happened? Did you eat the whole time I was in there?"
Yeah, I think that was part of the trailer.
The trailer part was when I went in, you were like, clickety clack. Now you're like, boom.
Yeah. I definitely remember that as it being part of the trailer.
Now, I will say this. As much as I did laugh at this, as a bigger guy myself, I did notice this was one of many times where Martin Lawrence makes a fat joke in this movie.
Yeah.
He does it quite a few times. Dude, he tells the guy with the rims that he stop eating cold cuts because they're coming through his pores.
Yeah, he definitely he laid into that guy for sure in that scene in more ways than one, and that was definitely one of the avenues that he wanted to really go in on him with. But yeah, I mean, it was late '90s, early 2000s. That
again, there were no guidelines.
Exactly. Everybody had their up at bat when it came to being targeted in movies and stuff, and bigger people were at that time up at bat.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, rewatching this movie, I get that there's a continuous through line of a story, but a lot of the movie just felt like random scenes put together.
It felt like you kind of were playing a video game, and you kept getting pulled to a side mission while you were trying to do your main objective.
And then the cut scenes were just jokes to make you laugh.
It was like a GTA mission throughout the whole movie. You just, or even just playing the game itself, because as you're trying to accomplish your main goal, you kept getting pulled and forced to do these side missions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. That does make a lot of sense. I will I love when he gets. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say I recognize it, especially through my rewatch. I didn't really before. I kind of was just laughing throughout the whole movie, but I was paying attention, and yeah, that's what I noticed.
Yeah, it's a big difference when you watch a movie with a more critical eye. And like you say, I probably haven't watched this movie in 10, 12 years, if not more. But I just remember it being funny. I never really looked into it any further or paid super close attention. It was just, oh yeah, it's just Martin Lawrence making jokes. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he dresses up as a funny character. That makes me laugh. I like that.
Dude, that whole scene when he shows up at the corner that he remembers and he sees that it's a precinct of the LAPD. And I think one of my favorite parts is when he asks the little old lady, "Is this really a police station?" And she's like, "Of course."
Yeah, like, you dummy. Of course it is.
What do you think it is? We put something on just to trick you, the one random human being.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he goes in there and he still kind of in disbelief that that it diamond that he hit in the police.
I like though that he sees the security camera and instantly like puts his hand up to his face, and I'm like, if you're trying not to get noticed, you just failed.
Right?
Because if anybody is watching that security camera, that is the first thing they're going to see and be like, we should keep an eye on that guy. He clearly doesn't want to be seen and is trying to hide something.
Exactly. Yeah, like he's acting super suspicious.
Well, and then, like you say, he comes back because he sees a guy doing delivery and a food delivery, and he gets let in. So he comes back dressed as, I don't know what this is, but he looks hysterical.
This is part of the reason why I am a huge Martin Lawrence fan is the characters that he comes up with and executes in movies and even TV shows. I think most of them are hits. I think he's one of the best actors when it comes to dressing up and being characters. I think he's one of the best to ever do it. He doesn't really get talked about as that type of comedic actor. But yeah, this just proves it to me that he's one of the top guys to do it.
The only guys that I can think of who really get talked about for that is Eddie Murphy and Mike Myers.
Exactly. But when you say those characters, those are the two characters that you say. You don't even think really about Martin. That, you know what I mean? He's probably, you have to have your memory jogged in order to be like, oh yeah. He does do different characters.
But I will say he didn't do it. I think the thing with that is he didn't do it as much in his movies. Yeah, like when I think of Martin Lawrence dressing up as somebody, I think Shanae from the show.
He's got many characters in that show.
No, I know, but that's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah. But if you're like really big into the Martin show, you know that he's got most every character that he plays, minus maybe one or two. Most of them are hilarious and definitely will have you rolling on the ground at some point if you watch a scene with them in it.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great show.
Oh yeah, it's to me. I have it. It's. I think it has to be top two 90s sitcoms for me personally as the
Yeah.
funniest. But everyone's different. Everybody has a different sense of humor. But the way they portrayed in the Martin show was right up my alley, man. And not only is his character acting great, being different characters, I think just his physical comedy is also like top notch. It doesn't really get talked about as much. Like he's a very physical comedian, but not near the level of like a Jim Carrey or uh,
No, but Jim Carrey can sometimes go too far over the top.
yeah, it's definitely a thin line when it comes to being a physical comedian. You can definitely overdo it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Jim Carrey. I always have loved Jim Carrey, but that's all I'm saying is there's a big difference between him and the way a guy like Martin Lawrence, because like you say with the physical stuff, even when he's freaking out in front of the precinct, when he starts like in the middle of the road as cars are driving around him, he's like kicking the air and freaking out. And then when you get him dressed as the pizza guy and he's doing the dancing and
Dancing with a stack of pizzas in his hand. Yeah,
like it's just funny.
exactly. He doesn't have to rely completely on his physical comedy side because he has just being funny, period. Like the way he delivers lines and what he says is also funny. I think when it comes to Jim Carrey, I think the bulk of what makes Jim Carrey funny is his physical comedy.
Yeah, and I also feel like with Jim Carrey, he's good at delivering comedic lines, but I don't think he does. I don't know. Now I could be wrong. I don't know about if there's as much ad libbing as a guy like Martin Lawrence.
Not as much.
I could be way off on that. I have no real idea because I've obviously never seen the guy on set.
I know that there have been some famous scenes with him, I think in Dumb and Dumber, where he has improv the line. I think the line specifically when they say they landed on the moon before he leaves the restaurant,
Yeah,
that was completely ad libbed. So yeah, he does have
which
moments where
in his favor is one of the funniest jokes of that movie.
it is pretty funny. It is,
We landed on the moon.
but maybe they didn't. I don't know, man. Allow ad lib as much as they allow Martin to ad lib in his movies. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I also think a lot of it could be that Martin Lawrence probably isn't making 20 million a movie like Jim Carrey was at this time.
Oh no, no. He's
So
probably
they
good.
I wonder if he was more censored because of that. Like you're making too much, just do what we got written down for you.
Yeah,
One thing that did bother me is when he's dressed as the pizza guy, he gives the pizzas to Luke Wilson's character and he steals his access card. Which as I'm watching it, I'm
I
like,
think I know where you're going with it. I think I know
I
where you're
don't
going.
know if this is gonna work.
No,
Because they
because
would either
now,
remotely deactivate the card,
mhm,
or they would have the number of because he would obviously report it because he can't now get through the door, or
exactly,
he would report it and they would flag that number the next time it was swiped,
exactly.
and he would immediately be caught.
Exactly. As soon as he realized that his card is gone, he would get a new card, and that card would immediately be deactivated. Like I know that now, knowing
Yeah,
that having a job where you have to swipe in, and what I've lost some, can't I in my life I definitely lost quite a few of them, and yeah, they deactivate the old one and they activate the new ones. The old one doesn't work. I'm going to
exactly.
assume that that would have been the case if this was reality, but no, this is action comedy movie world, and we're just gonna believe that.
But it's funny, like we say, the stuff that we notice now that we didn't before. When I was 13, seeing this movie in theaters,
No,
no way did I pay attention to that. I was just like,
security
oh,
doors
oh, cool. He got a key card. Now he can get access to anywhere.
and building, and it's fine. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It's just it's flimsy. It's part of flimsy writing. And why? So yeah, as soon as I seen that, I was like, yeah, I know that wouldn't really work. Just because I'm an adult now.
Well, yeah, and like I say, if they're not able to deactivate it, they're going to flag the number. So as soon as if anybody swipes it, it's like, well, you're arrested. Movie's over.
Yeah. So because the movie would be over and we need the movie to continue, we're just
It
not.
has to work.
We're gonna roll with it. But again, it's one of those things that it doesn't bother me. It's just one of those things that I just like, okay, that's kind of silly. But even knowing that now, it still doesn't hurt the movie for me, man, at all. But yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's it's definitely some super flimsy writing.
One of the things that one of my favorite things about this movie, I will say, is the chemistry on screen with Martin Lawrence and Dave Chappelle.
Oh yeah.
I think the two of them work off each other so good, and I think this is one of my favorite movie roles for Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, because he's sprinkled in there throughout the movie, and like it seems like almost everything he said, every line had me rolling. Only there was a thing he didn't say that made me just laugh my ass off, man.
Well, the whole thing is like and I think most people would agree with this. My favorite Chappelle movie would be Half Baked.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing is a lot of that movie, he's like the straight man, where he's just talking normally. Whereas this movie, every time he talks, he's loud and obnoxious and animated, and it just adds to that comedy. Like I have the movie on right now while we're recording, and it's the scene where he's beating him up in the interrogation room.
Yeah, he beats the shit out of people. Don't ever go in an interrogation room with Martin Lawrence because he's going to beat the shit out of you. He's going to crush you between a wall and the door.
Oh God, that.
Starts punching you in the face as he's crushing you.
I do love this, and it's one of those '90s gay panic things when Dave Chappelle starts saying, "Oh yeah, I got information about this guy. His name's Logan, and I'll tell you right now, he's gay, gay, gay." And immediately Martin Lawrence is like, he's going to attack him because God forbid he calls him gay.
Well, he's also slowly spilling the beans.
I know that's what it is too, but
yeah, I know
because he was the driver of the original heist, and he just wants it. And I love that earlier in the movie you hear Deacon, the guy who turned on them, refer to this diamond as being worth $17 million. And when he's basically bribing Dave Chappelle when they're in the alley before he arrests him, he says that he'll give him 20 grand. And I went, well, that math just does not add up because he was part of that heist too. He didn't turn on you. He deserves a lot more than 20 grand.
True. Maybe he wasn't paying attention to how much the thing was actually worth.
Yeah, because Chappelle doesn't really play exactly an intelligent character.
He just heard he's gonna get paid a lot of money, and he's gonna be the driver. So that's all he really needs to know. I don't think he needed to know how valuable the diamond is if he's just a driver. But
yeah, he just knows he's gonna get a cut.
Yeah, it seems like he wouldn't even ask that question, anyways. As long as he just hears what the amount of what he's going to get paid, and that's all he sees. It's the money.
Now, I didn't remember this movie taking place quite as much in the precinct as it does. Like when I thought about this movie, the only time that I really thought about him being in the precinct is when he's looking for the diamond. But there's so much they talk about the inner workings, and you have to worry about the schedule, and because they make him new head of the new head of the burglary division and all this other stuff. And I was like, a lot of the stuff in the precinct to me is kind of boring.
Really?
I mean, aside from like the Chappelle stuff or whatever, like yeah, I did. The interaction with the interactions with Luke Wilson I love, but the interactions with the other cops, as much as I like a guy like an actor like William Forsythe, I don't think he brings a whole heck of a lot to the movie until the end. It's more, to me, it just more seems like more of that mediocre writing that's just kind of trying to fill time.
Yeah, and like I don't know if anybody, and I mean anybody, noticed this. And this is how my stupid brain works when it comes to remembering scenes and things. But okay, you remember like the outside shot of the police precinct?
Yeah.
Okay, I've
I
noticed
don't know
several
when that is.
TV shows that have used that as their stock footage for whenever they're going to a police station. Do you want to know? And I just confirmed it. I just went through a YouTube video. You know what the most famous one is? To me, it could have been another ones, but the one that I recognized it instantly when I watched it years ago.
What's that?
Arrow.
The Mansion?
If you ever watched the CW show Arrow,
You
whenever
talking about the Queen Mansion?
no, I'm talking about the police station that's in the city
Oh,
of
okay.
Star. Whenever they say that they're going there, that stock footage that they use is the scene where Martin Lawerence is pulling out from the precinct.
Oh, really?
I just confirmed it. I just rewatched it because I wanted to double check. But
'Cause
yeah,
I thought you were gonna say about
nah,
the mansion, because that's been used in I don't know how many things.
for sure. But yeah, that is just one of the weird fact things that I know in my brain, and that's how it works. But I've seen it. I've definitely seen it in other things. But the one that definitely comes to mind, the one that jumps out, is in Arrow.
Great show, by the way.
I know there's a sidebar, but I just had to say it. I just had to interject that.
As I watched this movie, like this time when I rewatch it, and even now when I've got it on in the background, there is no like the way he behaves. There's no way that he would not be discovered.
Yeah, and
Like especially when they get in the point of the movie when they get to the FBI part. Like they show up and there's caution tape up, and the one detective is like, oh, the FBI basically barred us from the crime scene because it's their jurisdiction. And he just walks through, takes the clipboard from the FBI agent, is basically like, to hell with you. It's like, no. There is a chain of command that goes on here that you have to respect, or you're gonna get in shit.
exactly.
Like there would have been some kind of repercussions for him doing stuff like that.
True. And like I believe the suspicion should have been right from when uh, Luke Wilson goes to Martin Lawrence's character and says that his badge number wasn't in the system. I think that
Yeah,
should have been the first.
the badge number doesn't exist. Like,
But there's something that happens in the end of the movie that I don't want to spoil it, but I have to. I need to
This movie's 25 years old. We're spoiling everything.
Well, at the end of the movie, he knows who he is. So at what point did he know?
Yeah, they don't really tell you that.
I'm thinking it's probably when he discovered that his badge wasn't. It has to be around there.
Yeah, because he would have done some digging, which is why he doesn't. Because I never thought of that this time, but I was wondering, like, why did he go to him instead of him? Because he's portrayed as a guy he very, very much follows the rules and is very strict about that. And why would he go to Martin Lawerence instead of immediately going to his superiors?
Exactly.
Like they're buddies, but they're not that close. He's known him for like a day.
Yeah, you don't know this man. You don't know this man.
Because am I wrong in assuming that this entire movie, once he's a cop, takes place over the course of one day?
No, I think it's a couple days because there's this scene where the villain from The Mask meets up with the guy that helped Martin Lawerence get his.
Oh, that's right, and it's nighttime.
And that happened at night, so it has to be at least a day. Maybe I'm thinking it's probably 2-3 days because there's a scene at night where Martin Lawerence is at he's looking for the diamond, and I think that takes place that night. I don't know if it's the same night as his the guy that helped him. That scene, I don't think it's the same night, but it could be. I don't know. At least one day has passed.
Yeah, I was wondering. I never paid attention to that in the past, but as I was rewatching it, I'm like, I don't remember seeing. The only time I remember seeing Martin Lawerence at night is when he's watching Cops and doing the
he's like
pretending or prepping in the motel room, which I have a note that I wrote. I'm pretty sure this entire scene is just him ad-libbing.
Oh, yeah, exactly. 100%. It's got improv written all over.
Well, and it's funny because like the way this movie escalates is it starts off, he's a burglary detective. It is what it is. And then all of a sudden they go to the FBI thing or the FBI bust, whatever. And it's like boxes of antiquities are broken open and he tells the cops afterwards that it's drugs. They catch this truck. There's this huge drug bust. And then all of a sudden, we're going to go do a sting on this ridiculously high profile drug runner and smuggler and whatever. It's like this whole thing escalates so fast. This whole part is the span of one day.
Yeah, we're moving along. I mean, the movie's what?
It's an hour and a half. Which I will say, it does move along at a good clip. It's very well paced in that regard.
Yeah, it doesn't have time to overly explain anything. You just have to fucking get it going, get it moving. But the pace was still pretty good for being 90 minutes. So they had to, it sucks because they had to sacrifice that for, some explainable plot. But whatever. I mean, they're not trying to win Oscars. They're trying to
have fun.
Right? They're trying to keep people entertained, and that's what this movie does.
Yeah, because like I say, the minute you start thinking about it in that context, and you're trying to piece things together and whatnot, it all just falls apart. But if you just turn your brain off and watch it, it's great. Because when they end up going on this sting, because the reason that he wants it to be a sting is because he finally gets the diamond from the vent, and the vent is above the evidence room. And when he has the diamond, he accidentally drops it into this skid of heroin. And
Yeah,
so now he
still have
won't let them out of his sight.
because we still have movie. We still need more movie. That's the only reason why.
Oh, I know.
But what? Hey, I mean,
I'm not mad at it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was entertained as hell with this movie.
but when you try to explain it as like, okay, this movie's a good movie, but there's a lot of bullshit. When you know, it's hard to defend some elements to it, some aspects. But yeah, like again, another clear example of how juvenile this writing is.
Yeah, it's a very, very basic script.
Basic as you can get.
But then I will say, like we said, the movie has a fast pace. From basically this point on, it's pretty much all go, no stop. Like he goes with the driver in the van because he won't let the drugs out of his sight because the diamond is in there and he can't let that go. And now when we finally get to, and I found this really funny as us being in Canada and so many people speaking French. Did you catch how the FBI guy says this big villain's name, the drug dealer?
No, I was not paying attention to that.
So the character's name is Jean Lafleur. And it's so funny because I've like you know how that sounds with a French accent. He calls him like Jan. I'm like, oh, that is the most American way to pronounce. I'm like, why wouldn't you even call it like say Jean? But it's like Jan Lafleur, and I'm like, could you not get a little bit of help pronouncing this?
No, they're Americans. They say what they see when it comes to names, whatever that shit looks like.
I want to ask you, did you recognize the guy who plays Lafleur?
Isn't he? Though he is the bad guy in things.
So the only thing I think the only thing I've ever seen that I can remember
Russian guy.
is he what?
Typically, he's a bad Russian character in pick a movie.
So I know him as the main villain in Home Alone 3.
Was he the main villain?
Yep. He's the guy who gets the black spray paint across his eyes.
I remember the one white dude, and then the
Two
girl.
white dudes.
They're all white. Yeah, they're all white. But like
Two
the young
white dudes, the girl and him.
I remember the girl. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. He was in something else for sure, where he was like Eastern European or Russian. I think he's one of those guys. Whenever they need like a Russian guy, it's if it's not the other guy, you know what I'm talking about. The other Russian guy.
Oh, they got Peter Stormare from Bad Boys 2.
Exactly. I think those are the two. If you need a Russian bad guy, if one is not busy, you call the other one.
Yeah, pretty much it seems like that sometimes.
I swear, I bet if you look up his IMDb, it'd be like he played the bad guy and this.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. So yeah, on this sting, it's basically he goes undercover, and then when they get there, he immediately goes into the back of the van because he has to find the diamond. And then in comes Chappelle, and then in comes Deacon, the guy from The Mask. And it's so weird because when they get there, they just pull in, and there's this huge pile of like auto parts, and they're picked up by one of those the fucking magnetic crane.
Yeah.
And they bring all I ever think about with stuff like that is Toy Story with the claw or the big magnet at the end of Toy Story 3.
For sure. I'm sure that.
But yeah, they bring them to what?
I'm sure the line from those aliens are going through your head whenever something.
Always.
Right. I know what you're saying.
Always, whenever you see that type of thing.
That's cool.
But they're confronted with this villain, this Jean Lafleur. And immediately one of my favorite things in the movie is when Chappelle starts describing, or not Chappelle, when Martin Lawerence starts describing what type of person Dave Chappelle is.
He's a straight assassin killer.
What does he say? I saw him reach up a guy's ass and pull his guts out.
To his anus. There's the ass and gut move.
And I love he tells him to do it, and all Chappelle does is move forward and put his hand flat.
Yeah, he like does like some type of up. There's he screams, and at the end he flips his hand and goes pluh.
That's
And
the guts
that's
fella.
that's when the guns. Yeah, that's when the guts come up. You know? But yeah, that whole you could. I was probably improv too. I wouldn't doubt if it was. If it wasn't,
But
it was so. Funny.
so obviously with the sting operation, Deacon's there and he ends up shooting Deacon because they tell him to. He's like, no problem, pop.
Yeah, to prove that he's not a cop.
But then, yeah, that's always the thing. You got to do this to prove it, and
gotta kill this guy.
well, he didn't say kill him. He said shoot him. That's why he's like, no problem. And then as soon as he shoots him, he's like, why didn't you kill him? He goes, you told me to shoot him.
Yeah, that's what he meant. But
one of my favorite parts of this movie, it's a Dave Chappelle thing, and I don't think I really realized it when I was watching it when I was younger, because I mean, I guess I wasn't paying much attention. But it's when the cops and the FBI come in and they all start shooting and this and that. The camera flips really quickly to Dave Chappelle in the front seat of the car, or in the front seat of the truck, and he's taking one of the bricks of heroin and hiding it in his coat.
No, that's something I noticed watching it because I watched this movie many a times. It was one of those on repeat DVDs, so I watched this quite a few times. I definitely noticed that, and that's something that that sounds like something Dave Chappelle would do, if not in this movie, in one of his skits in the Chappelle Show. It's classic Dave Chappelle.
Well, and I like that when he does it, he's looking around like he thinks he's being so sneaky. Meanwhile, he's the only person in the truck.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah. You can't help but laugh.
I think it's more funny that they mentioned this Jean Lafleur earlier when they're doing like a big meeting with all the detectives. And you don't hear much about it, but you hear a few lines, like enough to know that he's this big badass. And but he's out of the movie so quickly, like almost immediately.
Yeah, he is an afterthought completely. Like, you would watch this movie, and even though you like it, you'll forget everything that has to do with him and his character.
Yeah, because all it is, the only reason he's there is to cause a reason for the three guys to kind of come together for the diamond. Because once the shooting starts, Deacon gets in, well, I think it's an armored truck, and just takes off with the diamond. Because he took it from Martin Lawerence in the truck as they're being like airlifted. And then of course Martin Lawerence has to grab a car and chase after him, because that's the whole reason that he's doing this. And this is that ending action scene that we were talking about. And a lot of it is just a chase scene, which, if done right, which I think this movie does, it can be very adrenaline fueled and very entertaining to watch. Like, you don't have to have explosions and driving through walls of fire and things like that for it to be entertaining.
No, the way they executed this, the chase scene and the stunts, especially with the cars clashing, I think it was great, well put together, and they definitely took time to make sure those scenes look great. I appreciate it, man. It wasn't go the lazy route when it came to these scenes.
Well, like you said, the majority of it, if not all of it, is done practically. So these are actual stunt drivers driving these cars, banging into each other, and so I mean, you got to respect the amount of work that those guys do, and it does. It really looks good.
Yeah.
And then he goes to he just crosses over into Mexico, and everybody's like, "Well, we can't chase him." Martin Lawrence is basically like, "Fuck that." Hops in a
Yeah.
cop car and away he goes.
He's afraid to rally.
Which, I mean, again, if he already wasn't, I would say fired, but he's not an actual cop. Like just this alone,
Oh yeah,
because he goes and he ends up defeating the bad guy. He ends up, long story short, they get into it and he ends up killing Deke. But he then comes back across into the United States. He would be arrested on the spot, cop or no cop. Actually, he'd be arrested probably more so because they think he's a cop. And the FBI literally tells him, we have no jurisdiction. So you go across there and you like, we cannot go there whatsoever.
yeah, he would have definitely faced immediate repercussions the moment he stepped forth back into U.S. soil. I'm convinced he probably would have been in shit on the Mexican side.
Oh, 100%.
So
Because literally at that point, whether he has documents or not, he has now entered their country illegally. And by crashing through things.
murder. He just murdered a guy.
Yeah, just because it's Mexico doesn't mean that murder is legal.
You'd still be on the hook for a whole laundry list of crimes. But hey, he's the federale, remember? It's all right. It's okay.
Well, that's the thing. And then I do like that they have like the FBI director there to give him shit. And immediately his captain or whoever the guy is in charge of him, he immediately is like, nope, he's one of mine. You don't get to say shit to him. It's like, no. He's above you, regardless of what you may think.
Yeah.
And I did notice this time that I don't know if he's a captain or what he is, but the guy who I think he's a captain, who's above him, the white guy with the grayish hair.
The other guy.
It seems like he's only in this movie. Almost every time he's on screen, the only thing he's doing is hyping up Malone or Martin Lawrence's character.
Yeah.
Like he's just constantly like, oh yeah, that's him. You have no idea how good he is, or this is a walk in the park for him, or like that's all he does.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's effective because it works, but it's another one of those things I noticed.
Could have took him out of the movie and you wouldn't have changed a damn thing.
But yeah, I don't think it would have changed much at all. Like they could have had him in there basically to welcome him and be like, "Oh, I'm reading your file, whatever," and then he could be gone from the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I don't know, man. My reasoning was because there's been other movies starring a black guy that had two white guys that were cops
that were praising him.
I don't think were they praising. I'm thinking of
God, yes.
I don't think were they praising Axel Foley. I don't know, but
oh yeah. What's his name? Judge Reinhold's character definitely does.
So I think they kind of just used that trope in that movie. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to create a trope, but they said, "Hey, this movie had two white cop detectives. I guess this one has to have it as well."
This one has three.
Oh yeah.
But I will say, if you really want to find out about that, Judge Reinhold loved Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy's character. And if you want proof, just watch the new trailer for the new movie, because I'm pretty sure Judge Reinhold's only line in the entire trailer is something like, "God, I missed you, Axel."
Yeah, I mean they've been through a lot together. They've been through a lot together, you know.
I love those movies.
I could definitely see after the third one that they would definitely have you would have a fan appreciation towards Axel Foley. But yeah, I'm looking forward to I think it's called Axel AF, something like that.
Please, that's not what they're calling it.
I I, I don't know. I could
I
be
would be
wrong.
fine with them calling it Beverly Hills Cop AF.
Okay, maybe it's that. Maybe it's that.
That I'd be fine with, but
I
all I care about is
cannot confirm.
I want him to wear. I want him to have that fucking lion's coat on, and I want the music. That's all I care about.
That's the only. I think there cannot be a Beverly Hills Cop, especially a one that hasn't been seen in decades. You have to have the iconic things.
Yeah, it'd be like if they had made Top Gun Maverick without the Top Gun theme or Danger Zone.
Yeah, and they're gonna have it because the marketing towards this movie, they have auditions, and I think Shaq auditioned for Axel Foley like as for the marketing, and he is wearing that iconic coat. So you will for sure
And
see
and is he
that.
and is it like the Chris Farley fat guy in a little coat?
No, I think it fits him.
Oh, they made a custom. They sewed
Which,
4 of them together.
which for me, I could probably definitely have it as a full blanket.
Oh, dude, you could have that as a fucking sleeping bag.
I could use that as a fucking tent.
And oddly enough, it would probably fit me pretty well.
I wouldn't doubt it, man. That guy's
Not that I'm 7 feet tall, but maybe that would be my claim that I can share the same size clothing as Shaq.
there. There you go. Just roll with that, man. There you go.
Yeah, if anybody, what size do you wear? Shaq size.
Not to brag or anything, you know. But yeah, no, yeah, that movie's gonna be. Hopefully, I just want it to be.
Good.
I just want it to be good. I'm not even looking for it to be great. Just give me
No,
good.
I want it to be entertaining, and I want it to be like them. I don't want it to be like Eddie Murphy making a fool out of himself, basically.
And I also don't want it to rely on just nostalgia over the first one completely. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want him putting a fucking banana in somebody's goddamn, what was it, exhaust or their gat, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want him doing that shit.
I
But you
will
know,
say the only way that I'd be okay with that is if he did it just as his way of saying hi to, like, I'm back, like, to those cops alone, like just those two.
I mean, sure.
That would be the only way. I couldn't. If they do it to somebody else, I'll be pissed.
Exactly. I'd be like, what are we doing here?
Or it's going to be something which I also wouldn't like. It's going to be something like they're doing surveillance on somebody, and Judge Reinhold is going to be like, "Oh, I know what we should do," and they're going to cut to Judge Reinhold putting a banana in the tailpipe.
Exactly. Okay. Like,
That
give
I
us
could see them doing.
exactly. If we're gonna visit that, let's do some iconic lines sprinkled in, but let's not make the movie nostalgia Beverly Hills Cop movie. You know what I mean?
But
That's
I hate when they do that. Like, if I wanted to see that, I would just watch the first one again.
yeah.
Which is why I think um I know I already brought up Top Gun Maverick, but why I think that movie was so successful with its nostalgia is it took stuff from the original and just modernized it. Like, instead of the beach volleyball, they do football. They still do um
What, the gay undertone?
Spoilers for Maverick, by the way. Yeah, well, they do the football on the beach instead of the beach volleyball. They still do the Great Balls of Fire, but now it's Tom Cruise watching Goose's son, and he's reminiscing on his friend. So like they still have those nostalgia beats, but they don't literally repeat the same exact joke or the same exact thing over and over from the first movie.
Yeah, I mean Top Gun Maverick, they used that nostalgia factor perfectly. They used it the perfect amount, but they also interjected a lot of modern, filmmaking and cinematography, and it took that movie to a whole nother level, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, when done right, you can definitely get people who were fans right back and feel those same things, but you don't want to just do that throughout the movie, because then you'll be like, I'd rather just watch the original.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard people that have said straight out that they prefer Maverick over the original. I disagree, but I've heard a lot of people say that.
I mean, I, I could see that as well. Because Top Gun, the original, it's a good movie, but I think, Quentin Tarantino kind of ruined it for me, because he pointed out a pretty much something that you wouldn't really notice, I guess, unless someone brought it to your attention.
Go ahead, ruin it for everybody. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but go for it.
No, I mean the whole homosexual undertones throughout the
Oh,
movie.
dude,
There's
that's a fantastic part of the movie.
the
The whole
whole
movie, the whole movie is just like
like a low key love story between, was it Iceman and
Iceman and Maverick. Oh yeah, the whole movie is just constant like homoerotica, and it's hilarious to watch.
it is, but
Like
Maverick
when
doesn't
Iceman chomps
doesn't
his
have
teeth at him,
exactly.
or that's right, I am dangerous, Ice Man, and he's like brushing off his shoulders. Oh my god, yes.
Exactly.
And the volleyball scene is the pinnacle of that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's hard not to unsee it once you see it.
Oh, I see it, but at the same time, I embrace it because I think it's just hilarious.
It's a good movie for an you know for a product of its time.
And I defy anyone who has seen the original, especially if you grew up with it like I did, to watch Maverick and not tear up the scene with him and Val Kilmer in that movie. I challenge any one of you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I haven't seen Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, to be honest. I
And I
haven't seen
just
it.
ruined it all for you then. I'm sorry.
No, I knew he was in the movie. I knew he was in the movie. I knew what was the beats of the movie. Like, I know what it's about and everything. I just haven't seen it.
I will say it's fantastic. And I believe it's on Amazon Prime right now for free.
Yeah, I think I've seen it there. But God
But I
damn
think
it, there's too much. All right, I gotta watch
I
The
know there's
Boy.
so much to watch.
Fucking House of the Dragons is back. All right.
Dude, I'm so
I,
behind on my shows. Like, it's
I,
insane.
I mean, look, there's too much. There's too much. Yeah, I'll get to it at some point, probably. But hey, I got priorities right now. You know. But no,
Oh, I get
yeah,
it.
I'll
But
get to it
I think we've diverted enough. I think we should maybe finish off the movie.
I mean, it's a 90-minute movie. There's not a whole lot to say.
No, but this
So,
is we didn't get to the federale part.
oh, yeah, he's a federale for the red, the white, and the
And he forgets the color.
turn around, look at the flat, and the green.
I love that. And I love that his response, because he's like, "You're Mexican." The guy's like, "You're Mexican?" He goes, "Yeah, I think it's like my mother's father's side." And Luke Wilson goes, "Yeah, I can see it." And Martin Lawrence, his response is "Glacius" with an L.
Gracias.
And he's like, "I shouldn't be telling you this. I could lose my federale hood."
My Freddy hood.
But no, I did crack up laughing when he does the, like you said, the quick look at the flag. Because like I can't remember what colors they are.
It's freaking so yeah. That was funny.
But yeah, Luke Wilson definitely he had figured it out a while ago, because they bring it up and then they're like, "Oh yeah, and guess we can't do anything because you've wandered back across the Mexican border because nobody put cuffs on you when you came back to America."
And like exactly. And at what point did you know you didn't go to your supervisors? You're letting this criminal isn't one of
That's aiding and abetting.
impersonating a police officer? Isn't that like a pretty big crime in the United States?
Well,
So
it's a big, I think it's a big crime anywhere. So it's that plus now Luke Wilson is an accessory. And
exactly, you're
basically when he lets him go like this, he's basically aiding and abetting a felon.
who impersonated a cop who was involved in FBI affairs, and he ignored every protocol and apprehend and murdered a son. He would be probably on America's Most Wanted that night.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely Martin Lawrence's character. And I think everyone that worked with them would have probably been arrested.
Whether they knew or not.
They would have probably lost their jobs at the very least.
That whole precinct would be shut down. All prisoners moved.
Yeah. Huge, 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 colossal consequences.
But like we said, this is just a 90-minute movie, so there's not a ton to really get into. But I've kind of gone through all the notes that I had taken. I don't know if there's something that we missed that you have.
No, that was pretty much it.
I mean, he gets away. The end.
He gets away in
Freeze frame.
Mexico. He's in Mexico right now with a $17 million diamond in
But hang on,
Mexico.
he's in Mexico illegally because he literally just runs across the border, and
Exactly.
nobody says shit to him.
But his only currency is a $17 million diamond in Mexico.
And clearly he doesn't speak Spanish, so now he's got to try and find somebody he can sell it to.
Better hope exactly, and you're gonna tell probably the wrong person, and the one of the cartels is gonna find out that you have this.
Oh, for fun.
I don't. My mind never went. What like happened once he was in Mexico? Like I never thought about it until this rewatch. I was like, he probably would have been murdered, and that diamond would have been stolen from him.
Yeah, because I guarantee it would be something like,
like who are you gonna sell it to? You can't step foot in the States. You're gonna sell it to somebody in Mexico. They're gonna kill you.
Now that you're bringing it up, it reminds me of. Did you ever see The Italian Job with Edward Norton and Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
So that scene when Edward Norton goes and he's selling more of the gold bricks, and the one guy's like, "Oh, the dancer, I've heard about something like this," and immediately Edward Norton just kills him. That's what would happen. All he would do is Martin Lawrence would go talk to one person and be like, "Yeah, I have this $17 million diamond," and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll get back to you," and immediately, like you said, call a cartel or something and be like, "Yeah, you guys need to take care of this and pay me a finder's fee, and we're good to go."
Exactly. Yeah. Something. Things aren't looking up for Martin Lawrence's character after, even though it ended on a good note. a dope freeze frame, but like, nah. I mean, we pretty much could figure out what would probably happen after.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
But again, I didn't think of that when I was younger. And I will say I did kind of chuckle when he did the jump in the air and they end the movie on a freeze frame.
Yeah.
That felt a little sitcom-esque.
A super sitcom, but it fit the tone of this movie, I guess. Sure, it's ended on a
absolutely it did.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's ended in a basic freeze frame for a very basic plot of a.
Well, like I said, I've kind of exhausted my notes, and I'm guessing you have as well. So I think we're good to move into final thoughts and our ratings. If you wanna go first this week.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this movie's a solid action comedy movie. If you are a fan of Martin Lawrence and other films, I highly recommend this movie. Um, Super entertaining throughout the entirety of the film. There's no really slow, boring parts. There's no characters that you find too annoying. Um,
No, the annoying one is supposed to be Chappelle, and I love him.
yeah, don't go into this movie with trying to need everything being explained, or at least anything with, good writing, because this movie isn't that. Uh, I I'd give this. I give it a 6.5. I think it is above average for like an action comedy. It's mostly carried by Martin Lawrence. Uh, he's brilliant in this movie. I think I laugh at almost everything he says and does in this film. Uh, yeah, I would recommend it to anybody who is a fan of action comedy and Martin Lawrence movies.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Overall, I thought it was a good movie. I will say I remember liking it a lot more when I was younger, but again, I wasn't watching it with a critical eye back then, so that might have affected my rating a little bit. But I will say I still had a fantastic time watching this movie. It's very funny, and the action looks really good, as we said. Um, Overall, I'm right around where you are, but I'd have to give this movie a 6 out of 10. And like you said, it is above average. Um, but I think some of those things that I notice now as an adult kind of knocked it down just a little bit, as well as like we said, the mediocre script writing and things like that. But I would definitely recommend this movie. It's I could think of a lot worse ways to spend an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's an easy watch. You can put on in the background, not really pay attention to it, and you'd be fine. And I mean, even if you are paying attention to it, you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna enjoy the action, and you're gonna leave this movie feeling like you didn't waste your time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a waste of time. It's definitely, like you say, a good way to spend an hour and a half, and you're going to be entertained unless you're that person who's dead inside who can't laugh.
You have a really sense of humor. Like if you have one of those super dry sense of humors, then no,
Yeah,
I
this
guess
wouldn't be for you. This is very overt, smack you in the face type of humor.
yeah, this is turn your brain off and laugh at the guy doing funny things, saying funny things.
Yeah, but I think that's going to do it for this episode of Geeked Out. Now, Juan and I have kind of discussed, and beginning next week, he has come up with an idea that we are going to do a what?
Why'd you say it like that?
Well, I'm just saying you came up with it. I didn't want to take credit because you're the one who brought this up.
Yeah.
But
No.
we are going to do a 6-episode series, and we're going to do it on underrated or highly underrated movies.
Yeah.
Now, what we're gonna do is we'll alternate picks on the movies. We're gonna start with his first pick, and he has not told me yet what he is picking, so I'm gonna hear this for the first time along with the rest of you. So, Juan, what are we watching?
Well, it's a
I'm
movie.
fucking terrified.
I think one of the first. I think this is definitely the first movie I recommended you to watch. Because you're a comedy guy. You like your comedies, and we were going back and forth of comedic movies that we liked, and no, and from the movies that you gave, there was one that you didn't mention that I know you would like because it's in the tone of some of those comedic movies that we talked about and enjoyed, and it's starring some of those same comedic actors. All-star cast. It is, to me, one of the most underrated comedies of all time, and that movie is called Strange Wilderness.
Oh my god. Yeah, you told me that. I don't know how many times, and I've actually looked into it, and I don't think it was streaming anywhere. So I was like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to try to watch it.
The movie is like, to me, it is perfect. It is so funny. It is so funny. It's on the level of Grandma's Boy. It's like if you like Grandma's Boy, you will love Strange Wilderness because it's some of the same people are involved. It is a Happy Madison production, but it also has comedic actors that weren't. They were big at the time, but they weren't superstar status like they are now.
Okay, I'm looking at the cast list for this movie,
It's
and I
incredible.
know, like I said, you have mentioned this before. I don't know how I didn't see this when it came out.
I,
Okay, actually, I'm actually because, like I said, I did look it up when you had told me about it, and as I said, it just wasn't available anywhere, so I didn't really try. But I'm actually really looking forward to watching this movie. It's something that I've been meaning to watch for a long time, ever since you kind of recommended it. But
yeah, it's one of those movies that for some reason, not a lot of people even know it exists, which is a tragedy because honestly, this movie has me. Every time I watch it, I am in tears. Definitely in certain scenes, even though I know what's gonna happen, I know the scene, I still I'm on the floor. This movie is so funny, man. I can't wait for you to watch it.
yeah, dude, I'm pumped. Like I said, just looking at this cast, I'm fucking pumped for this.
Oh yeah.
But so yeah, so for all of you, join us next week for Strange Wilderness, and as always, follow us on our socials, which will be posted in the show notes for the episode. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We'd really appreciate it. So until next time, thanks for subscribing and thanks for listening. Take it easy, everybody.
Peace.